And good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hot Takes Goodman and Renck. Troy, how are you this morning?
Doing great. Fantastic morning. So all good, man. How are you?
Good. Let's get this thing going. I want to tell you about the Sportsbook Bar and Grill. You can find them in the DTC, Highlands Ranch, and Parker. As the Avalanche get ready to kick it back up again, same with the Nuggets as they chase down seedings for the playoffs and hopefully a long, deep run into the playoffs. Best place to watch sports. Sportsbook Bar and Grill, DTC, Highlands Ranch, and Parker. If you've never been into any of those locations, it really is the truest form of a sports bar. Wall-to-wall televisions. Every seat is a great seat in the house. The menu is just fantastic. When I go in there for lunch, it's usually pretty busy because the food is that great and there aren't sports going on at that time. However, they do show a lot of soccer, a lot of rugby, so stuff going on overseas. You could probably watch it during the daytime. Of course, you can watch all types of sports there as well. Head on over to the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in the DTC, Highlands Ranch, and Parker. Easily my favorite sports bar. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Sasquatch Casino, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Sad news out of the Denver sports world. Former Nuggets head coach Doug Moe passed away yesterday at the age of 87. He was the winningest Nuggets coach of all time before Michael Malone passed him on the list. Under Moe, Nuggets led the NBA in scoring 6 times, made the playoffs in 9 consecutive years, won the division twice, and made it to the Western Conference Finals against the Lakers in 1985. There's so many different layers to who Doug Moe was as a person and as a coach. What do you think are some of the things he will be best remembered for?
Yeah. Good morning, Eric. Yeah. The up-tempo run and gun offense that they weren't really interested in stopping teams as much as outscoring them. And I was fortunate enough as a kid to get tickets to some of those games from our grandpa. Saw Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, the Lakers, Larry Bird. We tried to go to a couple Nuggets games a year driving up from Pueblo, and it was just so entertaining. And the Nuggets had, Alex English, everyone knows, but Calvin Nat, Fat Lever, Dan Issel, Shays. I mean, they just had guys who could get up and down and score. Bill Hanslick as a defensive stopper, T.R. Dunn. I mean, I could go on, but I remember those names because it was such an entertaining game. So his entertaining style of play will always stick out to me, Eric. But his outrageous personality. I mean, if you went to the games and you sat near the bench as a kid, if your parents were against profanity, you were probably gonna have to wear earmuffs because he would use, the F word. It was Jim Leland before Jim Leland, learning that the F word was a verb, a noun, an adjective. So he just looked so disheveled all the time. Like he just looked like he just rolled out of bed. Like it kind of reminds you of if you cast a movie character, not what was the guy Walter Matthau in Bad News Bears? Yeah, kind of a little bit of that. Like he's just like if he'd had a smoke coming out, and it was just all felt so 70-ish, early 80s that I loved everything about it.
I think that when yesterday I had a chance to catch up with some of his former players. And Bill Hanslick told me one thing that Doug Moe did not get enough credit for was being an innovator. Now, when you look at it on the surface, that they really didn't call plays, they really didn't play a lot of defense. How in the world can this guy be an innovator? Well, he said to me, talking about Bill, he said, Don Nelson and other guys get credit for small ball. And Bill said to me, he goes, I play in the front court. He said it was a positionless offense where he would just want to run teams out of the gym. He was the first one to really take advantage of altitude. He was hoping in the 1985 finals to outlast the LA Lakers. I mean, the LA Lakers were a running team. They were Showtime. But Moe felt because we were in such great condition and because we were playing at altitude, we can run them out of the gym. Unfortunately, in 85, there was the injuries to Alex English and to Dan Issel, and it just didn't work out. But something else I was thinking about as well is the fact that before John Elway, there was a Mount Rushmore of Denver sports. And in no particular order, although I'll probably put it in order, it was Floyd Little, David Thompson, Randy Gradishar, and Doug Moe. That is not the Mount Rushmore today. But Doug Moe not only had terrific teams, but he was so incredibly memorable as a person because of his antics on the sidelines. But he was just an all-around great guy. And I don't know about you. You've covered too many coaches to count, as have I. He would have been an absolute pleasure to be around. And for him to look at me and say, hey, dipshit, which is what he said to a lot of media members, how do you not take that as a compliment?
Yeah, I mean, that's why he had so much personality, and he treated people in a way that he'd poke them, he'd jab them, but it was funny, and he had a big heart about it. And that's what I only covered a few events with him, and he might have already been doing talk radio at that point with Tom Green, but that tells you what kind of personality he had, that he transitioned not to TV in 30-second sound bites. He was doing talk radio, like afternoon drive in Denver. And this is how, because he loved sports. It wasn't just, that's the other thing with Doug. You could talk to him about a lot of things that didn't relate to basketball, but it was just crude enough to be funny, and it was just slightly inappropriate, but hilarious. And you wanted to, when you talk to people that covered him, you wanted to kind of be on the other end of some of his jabs, because that knew that he noticed you and cared. And I'm with you. He doesn't get enough credit for what he did as a coach. I think locally he does. I mean, his 432 wins is in the rafters. I remember when he got fired, he was one of the first coaches to understand, like, getting fired, what it meant, and retire. Like, it was, and his wife was with him, Big Jane, and it was like with champagne and tears. He retired, and then he goes to the Sixers, and he got fired within like one season, and he got the world's greatest 401k plan. And he was like one of the first coaches ever to get fired with like 3 years remaining on his deal. He was just a fun guy. He was an outrageous personality, a fascinating coach, and he will be missed. I mean, people remember the Nuggets of the 80s because of the way he coached. He was he was as much a part of the team as your favorite player.
At the risk of going back too far, he was Loyola Marymount before Loyola Marymount was Loyola Marymount, as a team that, I don't want to say ignored defense, although I believe there was one game when he told his players, do not play defense. I think that was a game against Portland.
He told them at the end, the last 2 minutes, to stop playing defense so Portland could get their all-time scoring record. Because he felt like it would be a disgrace if they didn't get it based on how they had played defense the first 46 minutes.
Right. And the thing that Bill told me, I said, what made him great as a head coach? And he said, he found a way to get the most out of every single player. And what I'm about to say is not a knock. It's more of a compliment than anything else. Bill said to me, generally speaking, he got 90% out of every player for every single game. And that is really hard to do, I believe, in any era. I asked Bill, give me one great story about Doug Moe. And he started to laugh because there are just too many to count. And he said, we were playing a game against the Lakers. It was at the Forum, and it was a regular season game, and the Nuggets were down by a bunch. And Moe is right near Jack Nicholson, and he looks at Nicholson and pulls a Denver Broncos famous line. He looks at Nicholson and said, we got you guys just where we want you. Nuggets come back to win the game. He looks at Nicholson and goes, told you, and walked off the floor.
That's fantastic. And that's Doug Moe. I mean, that is Doug Moe. Most coaches would never even begin to engage with a personality, or maybe not even know who it is, frankly. They live such sheltered lives. And he got it. He just got it. He was fun. And you said Loyola Marymount before LMU. Westhead became the coach of the Nuggets. That was a different version because they had Orlando Woolwards. They didn't play defense. It literally was 2 passes and shoot.
Right.
Doug was more up tempo, but he wasn't. He didn't want you to turn the ball over like that way. It wasn't LMU tried to press in the NBA. I never forget Westhead trying to press Magic Johnson in the NBA.
Right.
So Doug, LMU thing worked in college. It did not work in the NBA. Doug was more up tempo and just realized, like, man, at altitude, that's what I loved that you brought up, Eric. Most coaches were slow to recognize the advantage of altitude. he more than anyone was like, if we run, we get to the fourth quarter, these guys are gassed. They're really tired, and they're just the air, it all. And you saw it. It was frequent, man. They would just dominate. And then we saw it later with the Broncos, how they would win fourth quarters because of that. So good on Doug Moe. It was a sad day yesterday. He'll be missed.
And looking again as being an innovator, Doug Moe coached in the era of Bob Knight. Bob Knight was incredibly structured, and I covered Bob Knight at Indiana. But the one thing that Bob Knight stressed more so than anything was pass, pass, pass. And that was Doug Moe as well. It was a run and gun style, but constantly keep having a motion offense in order to score, along with running as well. If you had the opportunity to be an NBA player for the Nuggets, who would you have liked to have played for? Would it have been Moe, Malone, or Karl?
For me personally, it would have been Moe, because I was a point guard, loved to run and gun. It was fast break. I mean, at my size, my advantage was transition. So for me personally, and because I thought he was hilarious, and I like the other two. I didn't cover George Karl. I've gotten to know him since retirement. Yep. But for me, it would have been Moe, and partly because of my childhood nostalgia. He's who when I watched and rooted for the Nuggets, he was the coach, but I genuinely loved his style. I just loved the up and down, fast break. We're going to outrun you, because that's, as a point guard, it's so fun to play in that kind of offense.
By the way, as a side note, I've known about this series on Netflix for a while, and it just so happens the timing, the passing of Doug Moe, I binged watched Soul Power, which is
on Prime, Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime, excuse me. Have you watched it yet?
Yeah, I wrote a huge column about it a couple of weeks ago. I got to preview it.
That's right.
2 weeks before it came out. Yeah, no worries. It's fantastic. I'm going to the premiere of it tonight in Denver.
Okay. And it's amazing to me. I like to feel I know a lot about sports, as do you. But the history of the ABA is not very well known. Obviously, it has been highlighted by Prime. But to me, the ABA is, if it was a piece of art, it was a stick figure to me. I knew of some of the teams. I knew of Artis Gilmore and Julius Erving, but the way it painted the picture so fully, and the way that they laid it out on how they produced it, and you're looking at certain things that made the ABA, which was Spencer Hayward, and then you have and then you have Connie Hawkins, and you really don't know about these players unless you truly understand the history of the ABA. And it is truly fascinating that they almost merged years prior, but then the NBA Players Union held the whole thing up. And then the way that it ended, it was like a circular knife fight amongst the ABA owners on who's going to stay and who isn't. And they were so loyal for all of these years, and they found a way to stuck together. And in the end, it was every man for himself.
What was fascinating when I did, so the lead of my column that day was, Jackie Moon can stick the basketball where the sun don't shine. Like, ABA players were really, really, really insulted by the portrayal in the movie by Will Ferrell with the Flint, the topicals, and this idea it was a joke league and everyone was broke and they had to market it in a way that was similar to like independent baseball. And it really offended guys, because if you watch this documentary, you understand the ABA was much more like the AFL merging with the NFL because of the quality of players and the style of play. And at that time, the NBA wasn't really segregated. You have like 1-2 black players per team.
Let's call it. They were tokens.
And the style of play was slow. It was much more like college than it was. There wasn't anything really different about it. And when the ABA started, I think the 11 teams, the NBA had 12, and then they eventually shrunk. But if you look at the first All-Star game after the merger, I think it was half of the players were from the ABA.
Yes.
They had Connie Hawkins. They went out and got Rick Barry, the best player in the NBA. Like this wasn't a joke league, and that was when I wrote it. I talked. So George Karl is one of the producers. I talked with him at length. I talked with Chuck Williams, who was a Denver East kid who played in the ABA for the Rockets, and I talked with Ralph Simpson, who was an five-time All-Star. The ABA gave us the red, white, and blue basketball.
Yep.
The three-pointer.
Yep.
The dunk contest, which is unfortunately gone the wayside, and All-Star Weekend, like all these, and fashion. Before Russell Westbrook, there was Dr. J. And if you grew up in the 70s, like especially late 60s, early 70s, they were allowed to express themselves not only on the court, but off of it. And it was a time of civil unrest. It was a kind of a counterculture league. But if you watch those highlights, what I loved about it is where they got these highlights. Oh my God, the quality of play was amazing. And these guys were fighting a lot every night, Eric, because this was a lot of their only chance.
Right.
There's no other league. Like if you can't make it in the ABA, because most of them had the door closed to them. And unfortunately, I'm talking about black players in the NBA. If you couldn't make it in the ABA, this was it. So there was an urgency to the way they played and a freedom. I mean, that documentary is it's really well done. For what is crazy, it's a kind of a forgotten league. The one last thing they're trying to get is the stats incorporated from ABA to NBA. I don't know if that will ever happen, but they did get a pension thing a few years ago, thank goodness, to give some of these old ABA players some help in retirement who are, in ailing health. But what a really cool documentary. And I would recommend it to anyone just to get a better understanding of the league. Because I'm with you. Depending on where you lived in the country, it kind of didn't really exist, and it should in our minds.
I want to take a hard right turn, but stay on basketball. Mark Cuban says the NBA should embrace tanking after what Alan Silver said over this past weekend, basically saying, you know what, we might turn the NBA draft into free agency because there is too much tanking going on. So Mark Cuban responded saying, the NBA should worry more about the fan experience than tanking. It should worry more about pricing fans out of games than tanking. Cares the least about tanking? A parent who can't afford to bring their 3 kids to a game and buy their kids a jersey of their favorite player. Tanking is not the issue. Affordability and quality of game presentation are important. Fans know their team can't win every game. They know only one team can win a ring. Fans want hope. They hope their team will get better and have a chance to compete in the playoffs and then maybe get a ring. Do you agree with Cuban that affordability is a bigger problem than tanking?
I think in the bigger picture, I think it is, Eric.
Yeah.
Because of the fact it affects more. The tanking thing is a problem because it points to integrity, and it's embarrassing, and the way the Jazz have done it is stupid, and they should be fined, and guys should be suspended if they keep doing it that way. I think part of it, just eliminate the stupid lottery odds too. Everyone gets the same odds. You can still have the lottery, but I guess it's more like all your odds are 1 in 7, whatever the hell it is, because that's part of the dumb problem is the lottery and the way teams are. Just give every team the same odds, but in terms of the bad teams. But what Cuban is saying, and some teams have adopted this, like the Atlanta Falcons have concessions where it's like $2 hot dogs, dollar drinks. Like they understand, like if you start pricing it to go to, because like it's one thing with the Broncos, and I'm not defending them, but they only play 8 or 9 home games depending on the season, and they have a season ticket waiting list, I think, of 110,000. So they have an advantage and leverage in the market. It's a little different and way fewer games, a supply and demand. But that's an expensive get. But I'm saying to go to a Nuggets game, are you talking about really spending like $600 to go to one game with a family of 4, $700? If I'm not talking if you're getting the 4 pizzas and 4 Cokes and you're sitting in the rafters, because you still have to park. So if you're getting seats in the lower bowl, you're talking about probably a $750 to $800 night.
Right.
And that's where he's coming from in terms of the experience, that it shouldn't be so dependent on what's happening on the court. The Vegas Knights have figured this out. They do basically a Broadway production before and during intermissions. So people go to those games, and this hockey, sometimes, even though they're really good, becomes secondary. Teams that are really good at this get this. And the Rockies would like to tell you they do. It's more of the venue and the scenery and people watching. But I don't know about you. I'm just saying it has gotten so expensive. It's like a ski weekend now. Like, okay, it's a ski weekend or my son doesn't go to college next year. I mean, it's just some of these prices for a one-off event are outrageous. And we're not talking a Super Bowl or a playoff game. It's a Tuesday against the Wizards, and I'm going to drop $750.
Well, here's the thing. I've always liked Mark Cuban. I've liked him for a very long time, and not just because he is an Indiana grad. However, I find it to be rather rich and certainly hypocritical unless someone is going to show me ticket prices of Mavericks games when he owned the team. You know, when you go to the Masters, which is as uppity as you get, they still sell a egg salad sandwich for $1.50. Is Mark Cuban trying to suggest that his courtside tickets were, I don't know, $100? Is he trying to suggest that his tickets up in the rafters are $10? Because they're not. The prices are out of hand because the owners have chosen to pay the players, and then you have the TV deals, and all this money is coming in. The question is not, are NBA teams going to make money? But it's like any big business. How much more money do you want to make? How many more yachts do you need? How many more homes do you need around the world? So for Mark Cuban to say, well, you know, you're pricing the fans out of the game, give me a break, Mark. You're a brilliant business guy, but don't try and con me that your ticket prices were ABA prices, because they weren't.
Right, especially as they got good, and obviously they won the NBA Finals. And without looking, I guarantee you the prices went way up after that. Once you win a championship, because that's how it works. It's one of those. I like the message, probably the wrong messenger at times, because I'm not sure he followed that same creed.
And there isn't an owner that can give that message at all, because I bought a pair of Avalanche tickets for my daughter and her boyfriend. I've been in the media for 35 years. You've been in it for the same amount of time. When is the last time you truly bought a ticket for a game? I am the wrong audience for this because I'm so used to going to games for free. I don't look at ticket prices. But when I bought a ticket, I'm like, my goodness, who can afford to actually go to these games? Now I want to go into the whole tanking thing as well. I don't know about you. I've lost my fandom, and that was lost many, many years ago. But I'll go back to 2011. I remember when the Broncos were just bad. I wanted them to lose. I had no problems with them losing. I wasn't encouraging players to give up. I was not saying that the head coach should not put together a game plan. I was not openly rooting for the Broncos to lose, but I knew they were bad enough that they'd keep moving higher up on the draft board, right? And as it turns out, they wound up getting arguably one of the greatest players in franchise history in Von Miller. I don't have a problem with tanking. Do you? I don't.
No, it's not the tanking. It's just how you do it. It's how you execute it. It's like to play a guy 3 quarters and then sit him. It's just that part feels disingenuous to the product. Once a guy, you're playing him, that's where fans, and even it bothers me, not to the point where I'm like, clutching pearls about it. Oh my God, integrity of the game. But just do it like everyone else. Just play young guys and make a guy a DNP that night. Coach's decision. Do it in a way that your fans understand, because I do think it's confusing if your best player has 32 points through 3 quarters and then he sits. Because they're not the Jazz, as far as I've said, their messaging, their play is that, but if they're not publicly saying it, that even then, that's what we deal with the Rockies when you have this complete lack of transparency. If you're like, hey, we're in a complete rebuild, we're going to throw stuff against the wall this season and see what sticks, at least you and the fans are somehow connected. When you're trying to win a game and then the 4th quarter you pull the plug, that's a bad look. That's all. It's just how you execute it. I don't have a problem with tanking, because you look how it's benefited the Spurs. You look how it benefited the Cavaliers. You look how it benefited the Astros in baseball. It works if you have the right draft and development people. Correct. So it's hard to say don't do it. But some teams have been great about it.
But here's the other thing. I think for fans, they have a problem when other teams tank, but they don't have a problem when their own team does it. To get a
Well,
better
yeah,
draft.
if you need a team to beat a team for you to get a number one, a seed. Oh my God, they're not playing their guys. I hate that. I don't want to hear that. Miss me with that, because your team had a chance to win games. Once your team doesn't control its own destiny, I don't want to hear you telling other teams how to play their roster. You had a chance. You did. Does it suck? Yes, it does, but you had an opportunity for 95% of the season to control your destiny. So miss me with that. But fans get angry. Oh, if they'd have played their guys. Stop. You had the first 16 games of the NFL season to figure it out. You can't blame a crappy team for sitting guys. Why would they play guys to benefit you? And in what world would it benefit them to win that? We've seen teams win meaningless games that has literally set their team back 3 to 4 years because they're not able to draft.
I will give you a recent example of tanking, and it was in the AFC divisional playoffs. And that was I should say before the playoffs, the final game of the regular season. The Chargers did not play a good portion of their starters. And New England Patriots fans, and I can understand why, were pissed because they could have had a chance to get the number one seed. As it turns out, they went to the Super Bowl anyway. But that's what I mean by a fan base is upset with another team. But if it's your team doing it, you don't have a problem with it.
Well, as long as you
it's
just
unbelievably hypocritical.
Correct. And I don't want to hear it from fans telling other teams how to play their guys when it gets to the end of the season. Miss me.
Because I can tell you right now, Troy, I can say with 100% certainty from one particular person that I talked to, the Nuggets front office actively wanted the Nuggets to tank in 2013 and 2003 to get LeBron James.
Yeah,
I was told the front office was telling the coaching staff, don't play these guys.
Yeah, again, just DMP them before the game and play young guys. That's how you tank. Right. Don't play them for 3 quarters and then all of a sudden you let them sit on the bench and they're laughing in the 4th quarter. That's annoying. I can live with it. That's annoying. But tanking it in itself is not going to really go away when you see the success stories of teams who've landed the right guy in the draft. It literally changes the arc of your franchise.
Coming up after the break, Travis Hunter went into the league saying, I want to play both ways. Now he's injured. Now he's getting ready to come back. And I can't imagine he is very happy with the Jaguars' plans for him moving forward. That's next.
Ferguson's Heating and Cooling is the best in Denver, and their customers agree. Ferguson's has 165 5-star Google reviews, and here's one from Betsy. Highly professional, prompt, and honest. I switched to Ferguson's when I became aware my former company was trying to sell me a whole new system I didn't need. Ferguson's is an honest, working, family-owned business that'll give you a fair price, the highest quality parts and equipment, and they always show up on time. You can trust the Ferguson family like you trust your own family. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. All their locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook, great hangout bar, great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, DTC, and now in Parker. They are the sports bar.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a pair of snowmobiles or nearly $18,000 in cash the weekend of February 20th. It's your choice what you want, the 2 snowmobiles or the cash. Earn daily entries with every locked up jackpot or by redeeming points on your player card. You can also earn a chance to win during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes between 10 a.m. and midnight. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, loose slots, great promotions, great food, and a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. And don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corn bake. Man, you got to try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver. And welcome back. Hot Takes Goodman and Renck. Want to tell you about Ferguson's Heating and Cooling, and they are the best out there. And I say that because I've worked with them numerous times. Nothing bothers me more when a company like a heating and cooling company or a plumbing company or a car mechanic, they try and sell you stuff that you don't need. And nothing says less about somebody's integrity when they do that. I have talked to Cody, the owner of Ferguson's, and he said to me, I know that when we do a fix at somebody's place, we might lose money on it. And I'm okay. And he said to me, I'm okay with that. He goes, we don't want to sell you something that you don't need. We want to make sure that we take care of you. And in the end, if something happens and you need something new, then you do. But at the very least, you trust us. They worked on our hot water heater. They came out hours after we called them. It got fixed. They came out hours after our furnace had a challenge. They fixed it as well. They didn't try and sell us a new furnace. They fixed it. That's the type of company that you want to work with. Ferguson's Heating and Cooling, they're the best. I'm telling you, they're the ones you want to work with. Go to fergusonsheatingandcooling.com. Time now for What's Trending.
What's Trending is presented by Ferguson's Heating and Cooling. Your family should trust the Ferguson family for all your heating and cooling needs, and you'll see why they have over 165 5-star Google reviews. Make an appointment today at fergusonsheatingandcooling.com.
When Travis Hunter came out in the draft, he said to teams, I want to play offense and I want to play defense. The Jaguars acquiesced and said, okay, we're going to play you both ways. So much, in fact, they traded up to get him, and they gave away some pretty substantial draft capital. With that, looking at where Travis Hunter is right now, how do you think he feels now that the Jaguars have said publicly, you are going to be a full-time cornerback, and you will be a part-time wide receiver?
I mean, he did it to himself. He wasn't good enough to play both ways last year. And what he learned the hard way, it's really difficult to pick up pro offenses. He didn't look comfortable in the offense, and the only way they finally got him involved is to force the action to him. His last game before he got hurt, they were targeting him more, but my understanding from talking to people in Jacksonville is just it wasn't clicking for him in terms of picking up the offense. Cornerback, you can go play, and you're basically, you do have to know it. I'm not going to say defensive guys, you don't have to know it, but it's much more just go push, put him in position, play, and use your athleticism. As a receiver, you have to know everything. We've seen that with young receivers here. I would still want to give it a little more of a chance because of that. It only lasted a half season, but once they got out, what's the guy they got from the Raiders they traded for? God, the name's escaping me.
Jacoby Myers.
Jacoby Myers, they didn't really need Hunter. Even he was gone, but I'm saying that's the problem he's running into right now is their receiving core is pretty good now. and they look at their defense, and he could be a really impact corner. So they're trying to say, can we get a top 5 corner out of him or a top 5 receiver? There's no way in hell he's going to be a top 5 receiver next year. We all know that. He might be a top 5 or 10 corner. Corners are harder to find. It just looks stupid if you make him just a corner, but when you traded all that assets for him, I would have still tried to give it another shot, but they know internally if he can handle all that. And I don't like his size to handle both ways. I just think he's built more like Devontae Smith than he is like an A.J. Brown. So I was all for giving it a fair run. It didn't work out, but now what changed is you're like, Troy, you love that idea. I did, but the Jaguars are really good now.
Yeah.
They think they have a chance to go to a Super Bowl, so they're not going to acquiesce to what Travis Hunter wants. They got really good, frankly, after he got hurt. So he's lost all leverage in this argument, unfortunately.
Here's going to be a potentially sad narrative. If Travis Hunter does not become a top 5 corner in the league or a top 10 corner in the league, and if he doesn't contribute a lot on offense, he will be looked at as a bust.
Yeah.
And that is unfortunate. It's not his fault. Okay. For starters, you don't trade away the 5th overall pick, a 2nd round pick, a 4th round pick in one draft, and then a 1st round pick in the next draft just to get a cornerback, unless you are getting a Pat Surtain, unless you are getting a Deion Sanders. Unfortunately, he could be the victim of circumstance as much as anything else. And as far as him potentially being upset about this, at the end of the day, now he has an injury history. He was out for the rest of the season. And do you really want to play this guy both ways because that's what he wants to do, knowing that at any time he can aggravate that injury again?
Right. Well, again,
you don't have to bubble wrap him. I understand that, but put him on one side of the ball and don't like tread on a tire. Don't keep throwing him out on the field, because if you do, there's a chance he can get injured on either side of the ball. Limit your risk.
The problem they're running into, like when he did it at CU, if we're being fair, there were times he struggled at cornerback because he was playing receiver. I could go back to the Stanford game when Stanford rallied for like 30 points. Travis was gassed. If you were another coach would have pulled him out and said, hey, we need to just rest you, keep you on offense. And it was just, they could do it because they were CU and there were really no consequences. And he's better at his worst than the guy they were going to put in for him. In the pros, it's not like that. These guys are all really good, even on the bad teams. And my issue with Travis was even at the combine last year, because there was a lot of skepticism about it. And I was like, I would give it a try. I would focus on corner and sprinkle him in at receiver. This is what I wrote last year at this time. But you have to have a plan for him because you have NFL meetings. You can't just miss meetings offensively and play in the NFL. It doesn't work that way. Now, if he was 6'5", 240 and ran like a deer, maybe it would. He's not. And so the other guys aren't going to be like, oh, it's cool. He never comes to our offensive meetings. You've covered the NFL. Guys would lose their minds about that. So that's part of it. You have to have a coaching staff that's really intentional in how they execute it. I'm not sure that was the case. His part is you have to grasp the offense. I'm not sure that was the case. But here's my final thing on this, Eric. If you have him do both, he gets great at neither. That's my issue.
Right.
If you keep forcing it to have him do both, now you've got an average receiver and I've got an average cornerback. At some point, if you're the Jaguars and they got here a lot sooner than we ever anticipated, and they're good, they have to say, what makes us a better team to get to the Super Bowl? And for them, I think it's pretty easy to say it's Travis at cornerback. And if he doesn't like it, I'm sorry. It's a team game. We're not trying to win you the Heisman here, kid. We're trying to get to a Super Bowl. And that stinks. I like Travis, and I'm glad they tried it. And I hope they sprinkle it in some. But some of it's on the player, too. In terms of grasping the offense and understanding the challenge. He was so naive to that. It doesn't matter. I'm different. It's like, dude, come on now. Is he a better athlete than Deion Sanders when you've watched both?
No.
And he couldn't do it. Like, I'm just saying, like, I wanted it. I like to experiment, but Travis was just, I don't think he was appreciating the level of competition he was going to face on a weekly basis.
Just because he dominated at the high school level and then went to college and played head-to-head against guys who were never going to play in the NFL, And then you throw in, if an NFL playbook is like a phone book, remember those
Right.
phone books? Remember those phone
100%.
books? Yeah, big, thick phone books. We don't have them anymore. A college playbook is like a pamphlet.
Correct.
Or to dumb it down even more, you have three guys with a piece of poster board. One poster board is a pineapple.
Right.
The other one is Porky Pig, and the other one is a shoe. And the quarterback picks the play that they want. It is a totally different game, and the talent level is completely different as well. Travis Hunter is matching up against guys who can compete with him physically on both sides of the ball. And again, I'm not even including the difficulty of learning an offensive playbook and then playing on defense.
Right. It's just like if you're going to play, if he's a receiver and he lines up against Surtain and then he turns around and guards Cortland Sutton, that's way different than anything he's done in college. Or even if you do it where you're guarding a Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase, can you really be distracted and then go play offense? Yeah, for 5 plays maybe, but not in a way they were going to try to do it. Now, again, my issue was when I was saying experiment with them, the Jags are terrible. So give it a chance just to see. Maybe it clicks. And the Shohei Ohtani thing gets brought up. But even I mentioned it then, Shohei Ohtani is a freak.
Yeah.
Not just athletically, but from a size standpoint. He's legitimately like 6'5", 240.
Yeah.
You don't find many baseball players that are 6'5", 240 that are probably the fastest guy in the game or top 10. Like Travis isn't that physically. That's the issue. If he were bigger like this, let's say if he were just Pat Surtain and he did this, you would say, okay, this has got a chance because he's 6'3", 205. He looks like a receiver. And he's bigger than most cornerbacks. Travis is not. He looks like Devontae Smith. He looks slender. Doesn't mean that he's weak. He's obviously muscular, but how do you absorb all that contact? So again, if I'm Travis in this thing, I'm just focused, do this, get really good at cornerback, and then force the issue at receiver again. But if you're average at cornerback, they're not going to say, oh, let's try this now again. They're not, because they're good.
Well, it's kind of like, have you ever made pancakes before?
A few times.
Okay.
I'm not great at it.
Okay, it's okay. It's basically like 1 cup of water and 1 cup of pancake batter. And then you get, I don't know, maybe 8 really good pancakes. By playing him on both sides, you are adding 1 cup of batter and 1.5 to 2 cups of water. You're watering down the pancakes, and they're just not as good. Make great pancakes first, and then let's see what you could do after that. To your point.
Do you think he can become a top 5 corner, Eric? If he just
I don't
corner?
know. I don't know. I think he has great physical ability. I think he's a great kid. I think he has a really high football IQ, but that doesn't mean it's going to translate. And now he has an injury history as well. And who knows if that's going to be aggravated or any other injuries that come down the pike. What do you think?
Well, I'll answer my question that based on watching him last year against NFL competition, he cannot become an elite corner if he's still playing on the other side of the ball. He's just going to end up being average at both. So you're going to prove a point that he can play both, but that's not the NFL. We're not doing it to say, oh, see, he could do both. No, I need him great at one. Going back to your original point, you gave up the farm for him. I didn't give up the farm for a guy who's a quasi 2-3 cornerback on my team. That would be the equivalent of giving up the farm for Jahdae Barron. Like, that's not how this draft works. Right. So you showed it. It sort of percolated, but now we're a winning team. Travis, I need you at corner to get us to the Super Bowl, and we will revisit the offensive thing as necessary. But right now, for your career and our team, more importantly, I need you to be a lockdown corner.
That's going to do it for us. Hot Takes Goodman and Renck. Make it the best possible day you can.